question is for Reisa. Reisa, I'm a big admirer of your work, and I really like the name of your company, Beyond Beige, which is kind of pushing the boundaries of what's conventional out there. So my question is, how hard or how easy has it been to convince the client to go beyond beige?
Well, you know, it's a good question. Luckily, I mean, they start out knowing what they're in for a little bit with the company name. But I have to be really respectful of the client's wishes. So I usually start by pushing the boundaries quite a bit with them knowing that I'm willing to scale it back to their comfort zone. So you know, I'm always chasing that fabulous project that's going to allow me the creative freedom to do whatever I want, but they don't come along that often. So normally my imagination's out here and I bring it back to here. But at least if you start there, it can push them outside of their comfort zone, which is what they're asking you to do in some way. So I think it's really important to present what is maybe quite a bit beyond their comfort zone, knowing that you're going to meet somehow in the middle.
More questions? More questions right here?
Hi. When you're dealing with like a husband and wife who don't get along, how do you not really not get along, but don't agree with a tile choice or paint color or something like that? Is it all about psychology there, or how do you come to the middle between both of them and help them?
Oh, I'll start. Yes, I think sometimes you don't know that's going to happen until you're in the meeting and they start an argument in front of you. We just had that happen a little while ago. We have an application online that really lets us know how many decision makers are coming to the meeting. Like, is the wife been given the full power to execute the project and the husband's just paying for it? That's a hypothetical. Or are they going to come in and battle and show you all their cards? I think it's one of those honest approaches, just saying, it sounds like you guys have a lot of great ideas and you want to somehow get them all into the project, but we might need to pick roles. Like, I want to hear this from you, maybe then this happens, and if that concession is okay, you then become the therapist and try to calm them down. And hopefully you get an answer. And hopefully you can move forward. I mean, because it can really stall a project.
We actually have it in our contract that says we are not licensed marriage counselors, but we will do our best to mediate in a peaceful, unbiased manner because it is so topical. And it is so important to manage that effectively.
I've been in many awkward situations with husbands and wives.
Awkward.
But, yeah, just awkward. But, you know, whatever, you know, kudos to them for being very honest in front of me. But yeah, it's also knowing not to bring too many choices. You know, they're not hiring you to bring 16 tile choices, they're hiring you to bring 3. So the less choices you bring, the less, or the more passionate you are about the design you are bringing and your ideas they're bringing, the less sort of leeway there is, and the more, you know, they know that like this is the true vision and there's not a ton of sort of segues that they can take.
One thing I found that was really effective is being a bit preemptive. So if you know the client and you know that that husband is going to say that he only wants white, you start out by saying, now, I know that you will only like white, but, and you can kind of try to segue into that. You almost call them out before they have the opportunity to do it for you.
Maybe like one last question? Right here.
Hi, I'm studying interior design right now, and I was wondering, I know you guys were talking about, you know, being open to ideas, reading books, attending events. What do you guys like to do, and where do you like to go to maintain your creativity and become inspired? Like, especially with the proliferation of like Instagram, like all the social media out there, there's so many things to look at. Like, where do you go for inspiration and to maintain your creative touch?
Everywhere. My library, travel, I mean, everything's, I guess when you're creative, you look at things differently. Like, I look at things differently than a doctor would look at things, or a lawyer. And so it's kind of everywhere, and it's up to you to you know, take something that you see, whether it be a building or a meal or an experience, and take what inspires you from that, and hopefully it translates into something work-wise. But you know, reading every book, every magazine, seeing what's out there, not just because you want to compete with it, but because you're genuinely interested in like, you know, A, what people are responding to, you know, trends that are out there, how to avoid them, you know, mistakes, lots of things, just being interested. I mean, I think it's less of a thing, like, there's not a rule for that. It should just be something that happens naturally. Like, you should just be interested all the time.
I think sometimes also stepping away, it can get really overwhelming. There's just so much stuff out there. It can just be 24 hours of visual overload. And I remember one time going to do something that Kelly Deck was involved with, and somebody told me that she was away on a yoga retreat. Oh, what the? What's she doing on a yoga retreat? What does that have to do with interior design? But in fact, it's really great to have, you know, a moment of escape that can still be incredibly inspiring. Travel is a perfect example. You're not necessarily going to travel to, you know, to fuel your interior design inspiration, but it can certainly be the result of that.
Yeah, I think the moment that things have really clicked for me have been like it can even be like a detail on a piece of millwork or something very simple is when I'm the farthest away from work I can be.
Good afternoon, everyone. At 1 o'clock on the Caesar Stone stage, we're pleased to introduce to you Tommy Smythe of Toronto. Tommy is an international design media favorite who frequently appears on well-known design shows and conducts speaking engagements across Canada and the US. So join us at 1 o'clock on the Caesar Stone stage to hear Tommy Smythe. This show will be brought to you by Blanco. Also at 1:15 on the Grey Conversation stage, Grey Design Labs are happy to present Lincoln Heller of 5 Left Leather, who will be demonstrating the art of leatherworking. That will be the Grey Conversation stage at 1:15.
You have to take things in stride, huh? All right, Jen, you were saying.
We pretty much wrapped it up. But really, like, for me, the things, when things have really clicked, I've been the furthest away from work or in a magazine or a book. It's almost that all of that information goes in, and then you need the space, you need the time to let it actually sink and click. So it's allowing yourself the space and the time for that to happen.
I think the only thing I could say is just constantly be aware. I mean, I can give you 2 examples. I was unfortunately at the hospital a couple weeks ago, and they had this amazing Japanese screen hanging in the lobby. So I took 20 pictures of it, large, small, the technique. We were hiking, which I didn't want to do, but I did anyways, in August, and there was an amazing tree with this bark that was like on fire, and I'm like, okay, everybody stop, I gotta get close, I gotta get an angle. I pulled some off, I put it in my pocket. So it just, as long as you're kind of really having that perspective to be aware of your surroundings, you could be anywhere.